All right, welcome to the first of many lectures about data. So let's get right into it. What is data? Data is simply stored information, stored facts that we can reference later to make smart decisions, right? So we can use this information to make smart decisions. That's it. If you need to click off, that's it. So data is knowledge and knowledge is power, okay? So here are some examples of some data points, right? And these are very high level. We'll talk about programming concepts in the future, but this is just high level stuff. And what's unique to think about, right, is every person will answer these questions differently and they'll come up with their own unique answers. And from those answers, we can start to draw insight from the person, right? So what is your salary? I can, try to draw an insight from that. What year were you born? Were you born before the year 2000, right? So I can use all of these points to try to make conclusions about you. So let's keep moving forward. So here's a better example. So we're moving away from the individual. Let's say I want to go to a restaurant. How do I decide which restaurant I want to go to? So here are some questions that might help me decide. And each of these questions have a statistical point of data that can help me make that decision. So let's say how many people are in the restaurant. If there's a super full restaurant, do you still want to go, right? If it's super empty, do you still want to go? How does that affect your decision making? If you have to wait an hour to eat your food, is that going to affect your ultimate choice? If it's expensive, if it closes, really early, if it has bad reviews, if it's really far away from you, right? All of these questions, when you get the answer is the data point, and based on that data point, we can then make future decisions, right? Because I know I wouldn't want to wait, an hour to eat at a restaurant. So if they had a sign that said that, you can then make a actionable decision against that. So let's flip it the script now. Instead of me wanting to go to a restaurant, let's say I own the restaurant. How can I use data to make better, smarter decisions, right? Because data is business intelligence, no matter the size of your business, right? So here are some great examples. So let's say every single night we sell out of shrimp, right? And I can see that in the data point. We run out every single night. So simply, I need to buy more shrimp. If the traffic in the restaurant picks up every single day at 8 p.m., what should I do? I should staff more, right? But how are we going to know this? We have to be taking the information down, right? So that means every day we need to count the people in the restaurant and see the population of the restaurant. So that way we can see the trends over time. And we know maybe if we need to staff more or staff less. So these are all different questions that I, as a business owner, might ask myself to help me make smarter decisions. And like I said, I just want to reiterate it. Data is for making smart, informed decisions. We can visualize that data into very beautiful graphs. Think like bar graphs, line graphs, pie charts, because it's a lot easier for us to take in that information in a visual form. And like I said, we can try to recognize trends and make predictions based on past information that we have. Like I said, if the restaurant picks up every single day at 8 p.m., especially on a weekend, I can assume that this weekend it'll have a lot of traffic and I will need to staff more based on the data. And like I talked about with bar graphs and pie charts and things like that, a lot of times we want to visualize our data because data at rest sometimes isn't the most insightful when it's sitting in a table, especially if you're in a business, because they might not be technical savvy to draw insight from tabular data. They might want it in a pretty looking graph or a chart or something like that. So now let's look at some examples about how we can visualize data, right? So first, before we hop into those examples, I want to show you what it looks like inside of a database, right? I want to try to merge theory with the application of it, right? So you don't need to know anything about what you're looking at. You just need to know that it's a table, right? So we've got columns on the left, columns and rows. I don't know which one's top and left, but we can take this and store data like this for a whole host of reasons, and I won't get into all of that now. I just want you to know that this is what data looks like often at rest. And just this isn't very insightful, right? But what we can do is we can take data and put it in all sorts of different forms. So this is a tree data structure, and you don't need to know anything about that. Just know it's a tree. And what can we tell from this beautiful picture, right? We can tell that all of these animals here, they all are carnivores. They're all mammals. But, some of them are cats, felines, canines, or bears, right? But as you can see visually, it's a lot easier for me to get that information from this picture versus if all of the same information was sitting in a table like this. So another example, this is an example of a map, which is just a key value pair. And this is just a weather graph, right? So like I said, it's a key value pair. So if we think this is Raleigh, right? It's 85 degrees in Raleigh. So we'd have the city on one side and then a temperature on the other side. So just think about, like I said, a table with just the city on the left and the temperature on the right going all the way down. And once we have that information, we can then load it into a graph like this and make insights, right? This is a lot more telling, a lot more insightful, gives you a lot more information than just data sitting in the table like this. Even though this data originally was living in a table just like this until someone manipulated it to look like this. So here's another example of a map, which is just like I said, a key value pair. And this is a lot more simpler example. Like I said, this is the same table, the same tabular data that we've talked about in the SQL example, right? We've got a key on the left side and a value on the right side. So in this example, it's an item and our price. Like I said, and we could put this in a database like this, but we're gonna have it sit here like this. So this is what it looked like in our database. This is a super simple example, but this is what it might look like at a restaurant, right? So I just want you to think data is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. And a lot of times it's in some sort of form to make it more easily interactable. All right, and then just to wrap up, like I said, data is power, okay? Information is power, right? You know what they say, information or knowledge is power, right? Data is power, it's intelligence. It helps us make smart decision making. Even if it's something simple, like I said, as eating this protein bar, right? The data points, it's got 10 grams of protein, it's 180 calories, it weighs 1.4 ounces, right? It's got 6 grams of fat. That can help me make a smart decision on what's healthy and what's not by looking at, caloric information, right? And I just want you to think everything has a data point, right? This Yeti cup I have, it's a 30-ounce Yeti cup. It's made out of stainless steel. It's got a certain height to it. It's got a certain weight to it, right? This t-shirt I have, it's a certain size. It's a certain color. Everything has data that we can write down and then proceed to make insights based on that. So that's just a really quick overview of what data is at a high level.